Good evening and welcome to the League of Women Voters from San Jose, Santa Clara, who are hosting the 4 candidates that are running for the City of Santa Clara City Clerk. And we are delighted to have both of them with us as well as you as the audience. The League is an old organization. It began the same year that we women got the vote, and that was 1920. We're a nonpartisan political organization, and we work with men and women, encouraging informed and active government involvement. The League never supports a political candidate or a political party. We have 2 branches, and tonight the branch that we're using is our citizen education branch, and our advocacy, and action is another branch that we use. And of course, we're very involved in getting people registered to vote in this important period of time. Just couple more things to remind you of is that we will not be taking any action this evening. We're going to be sharing with you our candidates in this forum, and the pros and cons are not covered either in this. And we'll give you some more information at the end of the show about registration. And now it's my pleasure to introduce to you our moderator for this evening, and that's Michelle Fernandez. Welcome, Michelle.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Rosaline. Good evening, everyone. My name is Michelle Fernandez of the League of Women Voters. This forum is for the Santa Clara City Clerk, and I'd like to remind everyone that the candidates have all agreed to participate under guidelines set for this forum. Please be aware that campaign literature or other forms of campaigning, such as buttons and t-shirts, signs, are not permitted. We are videotaping tonight's forum, and this session will be available through our website and on social media for the broader community to access. You can find links on our website. There are 4 candidates running for this position: Steve Kelly, Robert O'Keefe, Poornima Gopi, and Paul Tacci. Let's go over a few ground rules. Each candidate has 1 minute for opening remarks. Closing statements will also be 1 minute. The timekeepers will signal candidates with signs marked 30 seconds and stop. The questions have been screened to avoid duplication and anything inappropriate. The order of answering the questions will alternate, and each candidate will have 1 minute to respond to each question. However, I do note that there will be a few questions that are more complicated in nature, and they will be allowed additional time to answer those questions. Please note, all questions may not be asked, and some that are similar will be combined. Following the questions, each candidate shall have 1 minute for a closing statement in reverse order from opening statements. Now, let's begin with our first candidate. Mr. Steve Kelly, you may show your screen and you may provide an opening statement.
Hello, everyone. I've lived in Santa Clara now for 28 years, raised 3 wonderful children here, and have many happy memories. I'm the only candidate that has served on the Santa Clara Planning Commission, 2 4-year terms. I completed the California Fair Political Practice training, as well as the training on the Brown Act. I had the opportunity to work with 3 of Santa Clara's finest mayors. I received a commendation from the full city council when I term limited out, and that was in 2020. Now I'd like to give back again to Santa Clara, the city I love, as the next city clerk. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. And all candidates may turn on their screens. The next candidate is Robert O'Keefe.
Thank you, and thanks to the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum. My name is Bob O'Keefe. I was born and raised in Santa Clara. I'm a product of local schools, grammar school through college. I'm retired from the California Highway Patrol after 30 years of service. I attained the rank of lieutenant overseeing all patrol operations in San Francisco and San Mateo counties. I'm active in the community. I'm a member of the 2324 Santa Clara Civil Grand Jury, past board member of the Old Quad Residents Association, past member of the Neighborhood University Relations Subcommittee, a community advocate, and a past city clerk candidate. Over the last few years, the duties of city clerks changed, with the greatest responsibility being that of the city's elections official. I believe that position needs to be non-political, nonpartisan, community-oriented, ensuring true democracy and transparency in all our city elections. I look forward to answering your questions tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Gopi?
Thank you. Hello all, I'm Poornima and I've lived in Santa Clara for the past 9 years. I work in technology, helping community colleges in the US manage their enrollments and operations. I've been very active in the parent communities at my daughter's school and various alumni groups at Stanford. I've recently been looking for opportunities to get more involved with the city and the residents and came to know of this role. Running fair elections sounded like the perfect role for me and I decided to run. I don't have any experience in public office, but I have a lot of experience in leadership and community building, and I thought this is the time for me to jump in and give back to the city that I've been calling home for the past 9 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Tacci?
Hello, everyone. My name is Paul Tacci, and I'm running for city clerk, as we all know. I'm a father of 4 kids that attend our schools in the Santa Clara Unified District, and their ages 6 to 14, so I have 3 different schools that we're attending. I met my high school sweetheart on Valentine's Day in 2002, and we got married 15 years ago, and we call Santa Clara our home. My wife grew up and was born and raised here in Santa Clara. I grew up in Mountain View and moved here in 2009, and I love it here. I served as the board president for the Friends of Wilson Preschool, and I'm continuing to serve as we speak. I've supported the PTSA through Huerta Middle School. I helped with the founding board there, and I volunteered countless hours in the classrooms and on field trips at Washington Open Elementary. So these experiences gave me a deep understanding of the community, and I believe serving the community is the foundation for good government. And my commitments are to transparency, accountability, and accessibility in the city clerk's office. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all. Now it is time for the candidates to answer your questions. The first question will go to Mr. Tacci. We'll start with Mr. Tacci. Why did you decide to run for city clerk, and what would you like to accomplish in the first 90 days of your term? And I'll allow 2 minutes for this question. Thank you.
So the main reason that I'm running for city clerk is that I'm deeply involved in the community and I want to find more ways to serve, similar to the other candidates here. And I have a lot of respect for everyone here running. So I just want to put that out there. And as far as the first 90 days, I think one of the important things that Bob mentioned, and I completely agree, is the responsibility of free and fair elections. And I think one of the things that we need to really consider is making this a priority for everyone. This is a priority for every city in the country, in my opinion, and Santa Clara is our home, and we have a right and an obligation to take care of the city as best as we can. And so in the first 90 days, I would like to consider creating a task force to ensure election security. Obviously, we're going to be past the first election by the time the next city clerk is brought into office. But to ensure for future elections that they are all going to be free and fair, I would like to consider a task force to go in, review the current election, make sure everything is really secured, and we have essentially things put into place to ensure that the future of the elections is also going to be, free and fair. Every vote needs to count. Each and every one of us have a right to vote, and that's one of the things that we're so lucky in this country to have. So that's what I would consider for the first thing. And then since I do have a little bit more time, I will mention that the other reasons I'm running for city clerk is because I'm very committed to the city and I'm looking for more and more opportunities to give back. And the city clerk's office, I think, is a great foundational point, and I'd love to serve for many years to come. And I thank you for the question.
Thank you. Ms. Gopi.
For me, I'm an immigrant. I moved to the US 16 years ago, and everything is new for me. This is my second election here in the US. So I don't really know how the processes work here, how the city council works, nothing. I moved here to build a new life. So this was not at the highest priority for me. But I'm realizing that there are way too many people like me who don't really know about the processes. And I wanted to take the first step and make sure that I can do my best to educate people. And that is why I decided to run. What I want to do first, I want to understand what is being done right now. And I know that the city clerk's office is mainly responsible for running fair elections. So I want to understand what are the things that are being done. And I want to set up more forums where we can educate people. I want to create better voter outreach and awareness among young adults and newly registered voters so that everybody understands what is at stake and what are the things that they can do. That's mainly my thing. That's what I want to share.
Thank you. Mr. Kelly.
Okay. So I've served in government. It was long, 8 years. And I thought long and hard if I had something else to give. Obviously, we've had some dysfunction at City Hall. And since I know pretty much everyone, the first thing I would do would be to sit down and talk to everybody, lower the temperature a little bit. The next thing I would do, if elected, would be to really take advantage of the wonderful training that we have through state government. When I was on the planning commission, I took advantage of the training. I went to 3 national conventions as well as 2 state conventions. I think the next city clerk has to commit themselves to learning and training. I would attend the city meetings with the assistant city clerk and staff, learn the challenges and the roles of everyone involved. Lastly, my goal as the elected city clerk would be to increase voter outreach. I want to reach out to our local high schools, engage young people to get involved, learn how to work with their elected city officials to accomplish various things like affordable housing, putting in a stop sign, putting in a speed bump. I'd also like to reach out to new voters, immigrants that come here and they really don't understand how our city government works. Government only works if you have a chance to engage and work through issues. So that's why I'm running. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. O'Keefe.
Thank you. Thank you very much. As I said, I've lived in Santa Clara my whole life. I truly love this city. My wife and I, Lori, our kids are grown. They're out of the house. We became grandparents a little over 2 years ago, and we're staying here. We made a commitment to Santa Clara long ago. I truly believe that the city clerk position, which has been an elected position, needs to remain elected. And I believe you need people to run for office. So I appreciate all the other candidates who are also running for the officer. I think the more we have, the better. I want to see this position remain elected. I believe that's the best way democracy happens. And if you lose elected positions, you're actually losing a little bit of democracy. What I would like to do in my first 90 days, if elected, was first of all, see where that I actually fit into the city clerk's office. I've taken a lot of promotions in my prior career, and I've learned that I have to fit into the organization, not the organization needs to fit into me. So I'll have to see what my position as the city clerk actually entails. I know what it says on paper. I know the duties and responsibilities that come with it, primarily being an elections official, but it's also a leadership role. So I will have to sit down and truly form a team with everyone in the city clerk's office, the assistant city clerk, the deputy city clerks, and also reach out to the entire council, the city manager's office, and the city attorney's office. So to ensure that the city clerk's office produces the best level of public service. And that's what I think the first 90 days will be tied up in doing. And then I can get in later to what my priorities will be after that. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question for all of you will be 1 minute time. And I'm going to invite you to look more broadly than your first 90 days. And the next question concerns the next 4 years. What do you expect to accomplish over the next 4 years of your time as a city clerk? Mr. O'Keefe, you can start.
Thank you. So over the next term, if I'm elected, I would like to see the city clerk's office continue its high level of service. And hopefully with my contribution, we can actually enhance that service as we keep going. I believe if an organization, even if it's producing well, if it gets stagnant, that's when organizations tend to go down. So I hope to all 4 years keep the office rising to produce a high level of service. What I would like to do, my priorities, first of all, will be the city's elections official. I dealing with our municipal elections, I want to ensure that the whole voting public, new voters, current voters, and senior voters fully understand what our municipal elections has. And I would like to do that by a voter awareness program that reaches out to those voters. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kelly.
Thank you. Well, my biggest goal obviously is to get people more engaged with local government. Today, when I was out campaigning, I met a mother and her disabled daughter. Daughter is in her early 20s. And she was telling me about a program that was supposed to work with people that were disabled in Santa Clara. I told her to reach out to me, that if her city council member did not respond, that I would make sure that she would get a response from her elected official. Government only works if people are engaged. So I look forward to working with local high school students, immigrant groups, to get them engaged. The biggest concern I had when I was on the planning commission is too often the people that should be in a meeting are not there. So it is my hope and is my goal to work to get people engaged with their elected officials so government can work for them.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. Mr. Tacci.
Yes, thank you. So one of the goals that I have, of course, after the first 90 days and after ensuring elections are free and fair, is to help ensure transparency in the public records. You know, transparency is at the core of what the city's clerk's office should stand for, from my perspective. At least that's my goals. And I would plan to create a proactive system for releasing public documents and ensuring that important documents like meeting minutes, ordinances, financial reports are easily accessible online. You know, it's funny because a lot of people are not very familiar with the city clerk's office in general. And if we aren't even familiar with the city clerk's office, how can we be familiar with what the city clerk's office produces? And so I think having the ability to streamline services through technology when necessary or appropriate, we can make the office more efficient and responsive, and then we can reduce costs and environmental impacts. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Gopi.
I would like to create more public forums to increase the engagement with the public. Like Mr. Tacci said, nobody really knows what City Clerk's office does. So having those public forums where people can come and ask questions, or even just informational meetings, those will be one of the main things. Then again, like I mentioned earlier, voter outreach involving high school students and having the ability for students to come into the city council and understanding how the government works. Those are my main things. And it's easy to say this is what I want to do, but unless you understand how things work and how to actually implement the change, these are all just hopes, right? So I really want to understand how things work and then come up with a plan to implement my goals. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Gopi. The next question we'll start with Ms. Gopi, and it is this. What are the primary responsibilities of the city clerk? Are there areas where you envision the city clerk being more proactive in its role? You may begin.
Thank you. Based on what I understand, the primary role of the city clerk is running fair elections. And I know that in the past, it has been different. We have had city clerks who used to run everything, but now most of the responsibilities are handled by assistant city clerk. So I think we should really come back to the city clerk doing more of these city council meetings, attending council meetings, working together with the council and making sure that all the legislatives, rules and regulations are followed. I really think if you only do what you're supposed to do, then nothing is going to change. So people have to be proactive and see how you can do more and help the city and the people. So I think yes, being proactive is going to help.
Thank you. Mr. Tacci.
Yes, and would you mind just repeating the second part of the question after the city clerk responsibilities?
Absolutely. Are there areas where you envision the city clerk being more proactive in its role?
Thank you. Yeah, so the primary responsibilities are maintaining the public records, administering elections, ensuring transparency and accessibility to public documents, supporting the city council operations, of course, compliance with laws, and engaging with the community from my perspective. And to answer the question about where I'd like to see some proactive change, I mentioned earlier, but I think utilizing technology so that we can help better engage with the public, engage with the voters, engage with the community, and allow them to, I like to use the phrase, meet them where they are. And this means, if someone prefers to use a computer or they can prefer to use some sort of tablet like an iPad or a phone, give them access to the information they're looking for without having to jump through unnecessary hoops. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. O'Keefe.
Yes, thank you. As I mentioned before, the primary duty for the city clerk is the elections official. But it encompasses many things, is to ensure that our municipal elections are handled in a fair, transparent manner. And all the elections, mayor, council members, any measures that the city is putting on. We currently have Measure I going through right now. And those are all elections. And even the city clerk's position is elected. Of course, I would not oversee my own election. And you also enforce the ordinance that are related to that, such as campaign finance ordinances, the dark money ordinances, and other issues where you assist candidates in actually applying to be on the ballot. First, proactive, I would attend council meetings, public council meetings. I'd also set public hours. I am retired, so I have plenty of time to dedicate to this, and I will. I think it's important that the city clerk be available to the public. They could walk in and speak to the city clerk if they desire to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kelly.
Okay. So when the council split off the duties between the elected city clerk and the appointed city clerk, the responsibilities never really changed. It's just that the duties were shifted. If I'm elected, obviously I would like to have better voter engagement. I'd also want to help candidates that want to run to give back to the city. I think we could do a lot more to help candidates understand all the forms that they have to complete to be in compliance with state, federal, and local laws. And, teach them a little bit about deadlines, how to complete forms. Now, obviously, I would sit down with the assistant city clerk. I would attend council meetings and I would go to staff meetings. I think it's very important that you attend staff meetings as well as take training. I was disappointed when I didn't see that with our current city clerk happening. Thus, it needs to happen whoever gets elected. I think we do need a change, and we need to have more integration between the assistant city clerk and the elected city clerk. So with training and commitment, attending staff meetings, that can happen.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. On to the next question, and we'll start with you, Mr. Kelly.
Okay.
How does being elected instead of appointed change the role and responsibilities of the city clerk? Are there advantages or disadvantages?
Well, the role really hasn't changed. The responsibilities, who does what, has changed. When I sat down with the city attorney and I asked him what changes have been made, really what I was told was that the responsibilities, the day-to-day stuff, preparing the city council agenda, taking minutes at the council meetings, that's assistant city clerk. So I expect to get certified. So if the assistant city clerk needs somebody, I can and will fill in. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. O'Keefe.
Yes, thank you. I believe the first part of the question was elected versus appointed. There always has been an elected city clerk in the city of Santa Clara. That role changed once in 1950 for less than a year, and it was the only time there was a voter initiative to bring it back, and it came back elected. So ever since we've been incorporated as city 1852, basically we've had an elected city clerk. Over appointed, I believe the elected city clerk is responsible to the people. I believe it's true democracy. The elected city clerk, being responsible to the people, can act transparently in the best interests of the people. As far as the responsibilities, there has been no change in responsibility. The only thing that has changed were some of the duties were given to the assistant city clerk, such as taking the minutes, but the responsibility of leadership is still that of the elected city clerk or city clerk. People refer to it as elected, but it is the city clerk's responsibility to oversee the operations of the city clerk's office. And that's what I will do if elected. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Tacci.
Yeah, so I think it's important to continue to have an elected official in the city clerk's office. And a lot of that is accountability to the public, having independence and not feeling pressure from any individuals within the staff that might push for one vision or another. And I think it also helps with public trust. When we talk about free and fair elections and you have an elected official that's responsible, I do believe that helps foster and encourage public trust. In addition to that, I think there can be some benefits when you talk about elected versus appointed with greater public engagement. So an elected clerk can often campaign on specific issues. We all have our own priorities here in this forum, and I think the number one thing that really joins us all is that we're all dedicated to the city and we all have the best interests in mind. And I think that's one of the reasons why elected officials as a city clerk is a great idea. And I think I'm out of time here, but thank you so much for the question.
Thank you. Ms. Gopi.
I understand the benefits of having an elected official, like Mr. Tacci said, there is more engagement with the public, all those things. But as I try to understand more about the role myself, there are a lot of things that the assistant city clerk does, which are supposed to be, done by the city clerk that require training. So I do think that it should still be elected, but I think that there should be mandatory training for the city clerk to make sure that they are aware of the roles and responsibilities and how to actually do those. Any role, all of us have jobs, so we all know that any role that we execute, we need to have training. So elected, yes, but we need training, whoever is getting elected. Thanks.
Thank you. The next question, we'll start with you, Ms. Gopi. How do you see the work of the city clerk's office evolving in the next 5 to 10 years? And how will that shape the city clerk's priorities?
That's an interesting question. So like we've been talking about, right now, the responsibility of city clerk is really limited to running fair elections, and everything else is being taken care of by the assistant city clerk. So to make actually a change where the responsibilities shift back to the city clerk, it's going to take a lot of time understanding why the change was made. I think there was an ordinance in 1983 or sometime where it was all shifted to the assistant city clerk, and only the running elections were left to city clerk. So we need to understand that, and we need to work with the council to change how those responsibilities work. And like we have been talking about, we need to increase the public engagement, bring more people so that they are aware of things and see how city clerk actually does things for the city. And I'm out of time.
Thank you, Ms. Gopi. And Mr. Tacci, you're next. And just a quick reminder for all candidates to just be mindful of the timer. I know it's kind of hard to answer questions and watch the timer, but just a quick friendly reminder. Thank you so much. Mr. Tacci, you're next.
Yeah, so if we talk about the next, 5, 8, 10 years, with regards to the city clerk's office, it's really hard to look into the crystal ball and say exactly what will change. But I think all we have to do is just look down San Tomas and see that giant building in NVIDIA. And it's only a matter of time before artificial intelligence is a regular commonplace technology, just like websites were in the early 2000s. And I think that understanding technology, understanding how it changes. I'm not going to pretend that I'm a master of artificial intelligence, and I'm sure, no one can really claim that. But at the same time, having an awareness that things are changing with technology, and it's only going to get faster and faster as we look forward in the next 5 and 10 years. So I think it's important that having someone in the city clerk's office that can adapt to the technology, that can use that technology to serve the residents, rather than try and hide from it and not take full advantage of the opportunities that come along with it.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly.
Okay. So it is my hope down the road, by splitting off responsibilities between the assistant city clerk and the elected city clerk, is that we will see an engagement program that goes out to various groups, to high schools, to get people engaged with local government, to bring them into processes. We need to have people come in when we have large housing projects. We need to have young people and people recently came here involved in our meetings. So yes, we need to commit ourselves to training, but we also have to commit ourselves to getting people engaged in government. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. O'Keefe.
Yes, thank you. Over the next 5 years, I do not see any of the roles or responsibilities changing for the city clerk's office. But what I do see, as I said, I've lived in this town my whole life. I've been involved with city affairs for many years. 10 years ago, if you wanted to attend a council meeting, you had to show up in person and attend a council meeting. And then quickly, not quickly, but it went to that there was a TV channel dedicated to the city council meetings. Then it got to live feeds. So the technology and what we can do in the future to bring that is going to keep evolving. And as the city clerk, I will foster a type of work environment that will bring that even more forward, and where we can reach more people through technology. I will be looking into all those avenues that'll better enhance the service that we give the public through the city clerk's office.
Thank you. The next question, we'll start with Mr. O'Keefe. And the next question, I will allow 2 minutes because it's a rather long one.
Okay.
Where are opportunities for the city clerk to promote and facilitate transparency and its roles and responsibilities, especially with respect to the following? Number 1, the public portal for campaign finance disclosure and lobbyist filings. And number 2, compliance with the Brown Act. So I'll read it one more time. Where are the opportunities for the city clerk to promote and facilitate transparency in its roles and responsibilities, especially with respect to the following? The public portal for campaign finance disclosure and lobbyist filings, and compliance with the Brown Act. Mr. O'Keefe.
Thank you. The transparency and everything dealing with the city clerk's office would be by myself as the city clerk. If I'm elected, I would have, as I said before, public office hours. People could walk in and talk to me directly. I'll have direct communication with the public if they seek that. As far as the other issues, I would ensure that the true documents are put on the city's website in a very timely manner for public review. Also in there is the Public Records Act that the city also through the city clerk's office administers for any of the public documents that we handle. As far as the public forum for campaign disclosure, we have a system right now. It's rather an antiquated system, and we use it as candidates to file our documentations for the FPPC, the Fair Political Practices Commission, and that's available on the city's website. That could be greatly enhanced with technology, with new systems that are coming online today. I know the county is looking at a new one, and I'm sure that the City of Santa Clara will follow that. As far as the Brown Act, that's the Public Meeting Act that says meetings need to take place in public and gives few exceptions when not. So as far as the city clerk's office, putting those records online, the live feeds that we have for the council meetings, and then for the closed session meetings, fully documented, that can be to the letter of the law, so people know what's being discussed in closed session. Maybe not all the details, because there's a reason why they're in closed session. But I would ensure that the public forums and the campaign finance laws are adhered to, and also the Brown Act.
Thank you. Mr. Kelly.
Thank you. Well, obviously we need more transparency. I think rather than picking out one group, I think we need to show how much various PACs are spending and influencing our campaigns. It should be posted on our websites. And obviously, if candidates and groups could learn how to do it digitally, it'll be more transparent and readily available to the community for review. Regarding the Brown Act, I think we need to teach people coming in wanting to be candidates what the Brown Act is, that we can't have people that are council members meeting in private, meeting over coffee, and talking about issues. It needs to be in a public forum if there's 3 or more individuals that are elected talking about issues that really should be discussed in a public forum. So we need to teach potential candidates what it is before they become candidates, not after. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Gopi.
I believe that having more technology, making documents available to public wherever they want to access it is key. As far as the campaign finances go, there are ways, I mean, there is a place for people, a portal for people to go and find it, but nobody really knows. So creating more awareness about those, I think City Clerk's office can do that. Like I said, creating more public forums to disseminate information about the elections and the inner workings of the city council, that is going to help. And having access to the, like I was finding it hard to find the Zoom meeting link to attend the city council meeting. And I am a technology person. So it is going to be, right now it is difficult for people to figure out how things work and where things are. So designing a better system, a better portal for anybody to access information as and when they need it is the key to everything. And having more access to the agenda and minutes, basically whatever is being discussed in the council meetings, that is the key. So more technology. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Tacci.
Yes, thank you for the question. So in order to help encourage transparency, which I think we can all agree is crucial for the city clerk's office, I think there's a couple things that we could do in a reasonable amount of time that would help with this. I think a user-friendly online portal that we could create and design and invest in technology where necessary would be helpful for us to enable residents to access meeting agendas, minutes, and supporting documents, hopefully even in real time. I think that would be great. And some of the things, like I mentioned earlier, meeting the residents where they are, not every single resident is interested in every single item on the city council meeting. I think we can all agree with that. Some people have an interest in walkability and bikeability. Some people might be focused on rebuilding the downtown. Some people might be focused on the Niners and what's going on with that. And not every single council meeting is going to discuss the topics that every single resident is engaged and interested in. And so having the ability to have notifications for real-time meetings or updates when, let's say, next week, you do have a council meeting that's going to be talking about the downtown projects and what's going on, that might help encourage folks to be more engaged in those particular meetings versus just, showing up and hoping that their topic is discussed. And of course, the Brown Act saying we need to have the agenda 72 hours in advance would support that. So, 3 days in advance or multiple days in advance before the meeting is taking place, you'd be able to have an alert, you'd be able to have updates on the agenda. And so I think that's something we could do to help increase transparency and also help engagement. And then in addition to that, having more accessible archives, having a searchable database is something that is not new. Google does it all the time. There's a lot of different platforms that do provide searchable databases, but I don't feel like I can find all the information I'm looking for, and being able to help promote that as a city clerk would be an honor for me.
Thank you. The next question, we'll start with you, Mr. Tacci. How do you feel about the working relationship between the city and the Santa Clara Unified School District? 1 minute.
So I am very passionate about this. One of the things that I'm passionate about outside of, my volunteering is engaging with young families to help early education for children. I think that's really important. And having open communication with all departments within the city is extremely important. And especially talking about our schools, which is the foundation for our future, is I think a paramount. It's just imperative for us. So being able to keep that open communication, create networks, have someone that is good at meeting people and talking to people, and being able to understand what their priorities are so we can all work together more closely, I think is incredibly important. I would like to say that every candidate here in this forum seems to be incredibly qualified for that. but just making that a priority and making sure that we're keeping those open communications, keeping good relationships, and making that a priority for each and every one of us is, I think, really important. And thank you for the question.
Thank you. Ms. Gopi.
I believe that education and kids, educating kids is the best thing for us to build a better future for the city. And as I've mentioned, involving high school kids in the government and the election process is one of the key things that I want to implement if I get elected. And having a really good relationship with the school district is imperative for anything that is related to involving students in the city and the government. So I think whoever gets elected should work really hard to maintain those good relationships with the school district.
Thank you. Mr. O'Keefe.
Yes, thank you. I believe the question was specific between Santa Clara Unified School District and the city of Santa Clara. 10, 15 years ago, there was no relationship, or it was very adversarial relationship between school board, elected personnel and the city of Santa Clara. It has vastly improved. In fact, you see school district personnel often attend city council meetings. You see collaborative work between the city and the school district even today. There are issues that come up between the school district and the city, but those get worked out. I'm glad to say that Santa Clara Unified School District is one of the top notch around, and we're glad to have those people and that organization represent our city and our children. I think it's important that both recognize that it's really the kids at stake here, and I appreciate the hard work by both organizations.
Thank you. Mr. Kelly.
Okay. Well, we've had some interactions when I was on the planning commission with the school district, but we could do better. Specifically, when we have a large project, we really should talk with the school district, how it's going to impact the school district in that area. We may also want to engage them when we do a charter review, look at areas of opportunity for growth in the city, where some areas may see shrinking student enrollment. We may want to allow more growth in those areas. We should also reach out to the school district to see how a development project can impact them financially, to get a potential developer to assist the school district as it may want to assist and provide a community benefit to the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. All right, and this is our last question of the evening before closing statements. I know all of you have touched on this a little bit, but I invite you to offer your last thoughts on it. Where are there opportunities for the city clerk to further engage with and be accessible to the public, including public records access? And I will begin with you, Mr. Kelly.
Okay.
I'm sorry, who are you starting with? Go with Mr. Kelly.
Mr. Kelly.
Okay. So obviously, residents can do a public records request or emails and text messages. Typically, that's any government official. Often it's council members. We can and should sit down with current elected officials and staff and have protocols on retaining records, emails, text messages. So residents, when they request the information, it can be given to groups or residents in a timely fashion. When I say timely, within a week's time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. O'Keefe.
Yeah, thank you. I think the city clerk and city clerk's office, especially the city clerk, can benefit and be more accessible. As I mentioned before, I will have actual office hours where people can come in and engage with me as city clerk and ask questions, and I can ensure that the business of the city clerk's office gets done. Also on Public Records Request Act, the law states that there's 10 days on most requests. We can get those posted online, I believe, sooner than that. And with technology, we can even improve that so people don't have to wait and the information that people need can get out to them. We also bring back candidate forums that we're having tonight. I was disappointed the city is not having one this year for council members or city clerk candidates. And lastly, there's more, but my time's running out, is attend the public meetings. Let the people see the city clerk there and also engage at those meetings with the public. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Tacci.
Yes, so we talked a little bit about it earlier, and I really like the idea of making the records more accessible from a search perspective. You know, we're very accustomed to looking for information, seeking information through technology, you know, computers, phones, things of that nature. And having the ability to look for records that we need or we want to find out about in the city records should be as easy as doing a search on an internet web browser. I think it's just something that we've become accustomed to, we've become familiar with, and you know, there's nothing. This is not a criticism of the current records and the way that we can access it, but it's not as easy as it could be. So having a platform where we can really focus on finding the existing records, and then of course making sure that new records are public as soon as possible, using technology as well.
Thank you. Ms. Gopi.
Having different avenues for people to request for information, like having a user portal, but still having email, text, telephone access to the city clerk's office, and getting timely response on any inquiries made. A lot of times when you send in an inquiry, it says takes 5 days, or, you know, it gives a big number, and then people don't always feel comfortable sending inquiries like that. So improving the response times could help a lot, and having easier access to the city clerk's office through in-person and online forums. So maybe a monthly online Zoom call, you know, where the city clerk is available and people can just drop in and ask questions. So because in-person is important, online is equally important. So having various avenues is going to help. Thank you.
Thank you. We are now going to move into closing statements, and we are going to perform those in the opposite order of the opening statements. So we will begin with you, Mr. Tacci, and each of you will have 1.5 minutes.
Great, thank you. And thanks again to the Women's League of Voters for hosting this event. It's really great to get this commitment to public service. And, you know, it's really because one of the reasons why I feel so strongly is my commitment to service is at the heart of everything that I do. You know, I have experience with the Friends of Wilson Preschool Board. I've been on that board for over 6 years, helping support the preschool and helping engage with the individuals that go to that school, as well as the school board, the Huerta Middle School PTSA, volunteering at Washington Open. These are all things that I'm very passionate about, and I love spending my time doing these things, even though I'll be honest, sometimes it can be a little challenging teaching math to 3rd graders. But at the same time, I do love doing it. I am committed to the service, and you know, I've been in the private sector as a CEO of a telecommunications business, and I have considerable experience navigating things like taxes, customer service, sales outreach. And I think leadership is imperative when you're running for a department head. And Mr. O'Keefe mentioned really well that, you know, you need to have a well-running department. And I really believe that having the city clerk's office operate at its maximum capacity while serving the residents is a really big priority of mine. And I think it's imperative that we maintain a strong, positive relationship with city government officials, especially things like the school board. And I'm focused on making government transparent, accessible, and responsive. And I'm not just asking for your vote. I'm putting in the work for city clerk, and with your support, we can build a better city clerk's office that serves every resident. And I humbly ask for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Gopi.
Thank you for inviting me here and letting me speak a little bit. As it's evident, I have never worked in the public with the city. I have very less information about things compared to the other candidates, but I am willing to learn. And while I don't have experience, serving on the boards and city council or anything related to city, I have a lot of experience in leadership outside of the city. I have been running a lot of, I've run an incubator, a startup incubator and accelerator. I've built communities from scratch, and I'm still running those. So I feel that having a fresh perspective on things, coming in very new and looking at things with a fresh perspective is going to be my strong, my biggest strength. And I am, I believe that, I have a strong focus on organization fairness and transparency. And if I get elected, I will work diligently to ensure efficiency and accessibility for all residents. And I ask for your support and your vote to help make a positive difference in the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. O'Keefe.
Yes, thank you. And thank you to everyone for putting on this forum. Thanks to the candidates for taking the interest in running for city clerk. These forums are important. It's a way that I and we can talk to the public. So I appreciate that. My entire career has been dedicated to public service, and I still wish to serve. I have proven leadership skills and vast government administrative experience. If selected, I will perform my duties professionally, honestly, with high moral values and ethical standards. It's hard to communicate everything you want to do in a few minutes. So please look me up, o'keefeforcityclerk.com, and I explain my visions for city clerk, and everything that I believe that I can do to benefit this city. I think I laid it out pretty well online there. And it all comes down to, if you like what you see, I'm going to ask you to vote for me. To be successful, I need your vote. So o'keefeforcityclerk.com, and please vote for Bob O'Keefe prior to or on November 5th. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kelly. Mr. Kelly, you're on mute.
First, I want to thank the League of Women Voters for having this forum. If I'm elected, I will be impartial. I have government experience after 8 years on the Planning Commission. I want to listen first, see how I can improve things. I understand government takes a little bit of time and work to get it to work for all of us. But I'll make the time and commitment that it will take to improve my skills to make it happen. I want to bring back live debates, although I think virtual debates are great. I think we should have hybrids where we have both. If elected, I'll take the position seriously, taking advantage of the wonderful state training. I'll work collaboratively with staff and the assistant city clerk. So I ask for your support so positive things can happen within our city. So to find out more, please go to my website at kellyforcityclerk.com. And I humbly ask for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you all. We've come to the end of our forum. I'm going to hand it off to our host, Ms. Rosaline Zish, and Mr. O'Keefe, Mr. Kelly, Ms. Gopi, Mr. Tacci. Thank you for participating.
And also thank you, Michelle, for your moderating this evening. This has been stimulating. I've learned a lot, and I'm sure you have as viewers. We want to thank again for people that get involved, and your city is very fortunate to have so many gifted people running for this office of city clerk. we have a few slides I want to show you just to close and remind you of some important things. And if you haven't voted yet, voting is going on right now through your mail-in and the different places you can drop them. There's a lot of them and many choices. So do learn about your own personal ballot. And to do that, go to 411. That's vote411.org. And all you do is put in your address and everybody will come up. And we have a lot of important positions being voted for this year for California. So do take the time to check this out. And we are delighted to be a part of the sponsorship on that important place that you can get your questions answered. And it also will point out where the money comes from that supports these things, which I think is also a very interesting thing to know. We want to remind you that you could have until yesterday registered. But now if you need to register, if you've changed where you live or you didn't get it in, you can still register, but you have to go to a vote center to do that. And you can do it right up to Election Day, November 5th. So don't think that you're out of the picture because you still can do that. And of course, our county, Santa Clara County Register of Voters has lots of answers for you as well. So we encourage you to vote and get out there and get your friends or relatives and these young people too, encourage them. And they don't have to vote on every single person or every single issue because that sometimes can be overwhelming, but they do need to vote. And we hope they all will. Thank you again to our candidates this evening. And remember, you can see them. This was a televised program, so it will be up there under the League of Women Voters site. And I think we had that up there, but I'm not positive it was listed. So you can go to our site and you will find this show tonight and other people can watch it as well. So thanks again. And remember, voting, it is a participating activity. It's not something that we let others do for us. Good night.
Good night.